everyone and welcome back to Edureka's YouTube channel. In this video on web development tutorial, we will start with understanding essential web development tools and technologies, including HTML, CSS and JavaScript. First, we will start with HTML, then we will move on to CSS, and after learning HTML and CSS, we will create this application form. Along with that, we will also apply some JavaScript function to this form, such as form validation. By the end of this playlist, you will also gain hands-on experience in building your first website. Let's have a look on the website that we are going to create in this playlist. This is our interactive and responsive website, built entirely with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Now, let's have a quick look at the website. Starting with the home page, here you'll find various sections that introduce our website and show what we offer. Next, we have meal page. As you can see, we have organized this meal page into sections for each meal, such as breakfast, lunch, dinner and snack. It is super easy to browse through and find exactly what you are craving. Now, one of the exciting features is add to cart functionality. For example, if you see a dish you like, simply you can click to add to cart and that items get instantly added. Let's take a closer look at the cart section. Here you will see all the items that you have added with option to remove any item. So once you are ready, you'll proceed to checkout page to complete your order. And of course, we have added a contact us page, where you will find all our contact details with a helpful map so you know exactly where to find us. All these features are built using HTML, CSS and JavaScript, making the website not only functional but also visually engaging. As we continue developing this site, we can add even more features and functionalities. Before we get started, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on latest tech content from Edureka. Also remember to check out Edureka website for our Web Developer Masters program. The link is in the description box below. Now let's outline what we'll be covering in this video. We will start this video with why you should learn web development and the value that it brings to your career. Then we will cover what is web development at its high level, providing a clear understanding of this field. Following that, we will dive into overview of front-end development, explaining the key technologies and principles involved. Next, we will guide you through setting up your development environment so you are ready to start your coding. We will then walk you through writing your first program in HTML, followed by creating a form using HTML. So once you have mastered the basics, we will move on to learning styling techniques to make your form and web pages visually appealing. We will apply these skills to design a form using styling techniques. Understanding the concept of form validation will be our next focus, ensuring that your form functions correctly and securely. Then you will get hands-on experience as we build our first website using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Finally, we will introduce you to the concept of back-end development, giving you a complete picture of web development process. Now that you know what we will be covering, let's start with our first topic, why you should consider learning web development. So, the first thing is, it is easy to learn. Web development tools and technologies are designed to be friendly and easily accessible for beginners. With numerous online resources, tutorials and communities, you can quickly start building your website and a web application even if you have no prior experience. The second thing is flexible work environment. Web development offers a highly flexible work environment. You can work from anywhere, whether it's home, a coffee shop, or while traveling. This flexibility is ideal for those who value work-life balance and prefer to set their schedules. And the next is high salary package. Web developers are high in demand and this demand translates into high salary packages. The average salary of a web developer in India is about 10 to 12 lakhs per annum, and the average salary of a web developer in USA is about $120,000 per annum. The next thing is freelance opportunities. Web development opens up numerous freelance opportunities. Whether you want to work on project part-time or build a full-time freelance career, there is a vast market for web development services. And next on, we have creative and fun. Web development is a perfect blend of creativity and skills. It allows you to express your creativity through design and problem solving while building an interactive and engaging website. The process of creating something from scratch can be highly satisfying and enjoyable. Understanding the reasons of learning web development is just the beginning. Now let's see what web development actually is. Web development is a process of creating and maintaining website and web applications that users interact with on internet. To understand web development, let's have a look on two familiar examples. And the first one is Amazon. On Amazon, everything including responsive design, navigation bar, product listing, shopping cart, wish list cart, and search bar are a result of web development. These features are designed to create seamless shopping experience for the users. Now similarly on YouTube, the navigation sidebar, subscription button, playlist creation, live streaming, video player, search bar, all are brought together to life through web development, offering an interactive and smooth user experience. So this is why web development is so important. It is used to create applications like Amazon and YouTube. If you want to build your web application, learning web development will be your first step. So now that we know what web development is, let's see how it works. Web development involves two key components. The first one is front-end. Front-end is the part user interacts with directly through web browsers. It includes all the visual elements you see on the website, such as button, text, and images. Next, we have backend. Backend is what happens behind the scenes. It involves web servers, where all the website's data and files are stored, business logic, which processes requests and handles the application's operation, database, where all the essential information is stored, and together these backend components ensure the website functions smoothly and can handle the user request efficiently. Now that you understand web development, let's move on to the core technologies that makes it possible. First on we have HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is the backbone of any website. It structures the content by defining elements like heading, paragraph, images, links. Basically, it forms the skeleton of the web page. Then on we have CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It is responsible for websites' look and feel. It controls the layout, color, fonts, and overall visual appearance, allowing you to create visually appealing and responsive designs. And next on we have JavaScript. JavaScript adds interactivity to your website. It enables dynamic features like animation, form validation, and interactive element, making the website more engaging for the users. Now, without any further delay, let's set up our developing environment so you can start working on your first HTML program. So there are so many code editors in market, but the code editor that we are going to work on is Visual Studio Code. So to download Visual Studio Code, you just have to visit the official website of Visual Studio Code, and after that you have to just click on the download link. In case you are using Mac, you can download from this link, but we are using Windows, so I'll just click on this link. After clicking on that link, my download process has started. So after the file gets downloaded, we are just going to click here, and then we are going to click on I accept the agreement and then next. So this basically is the address of your Visual Studio Code. Just let it be as it is and click on next. Next. And here we are going to click on create a desktop icon and open with code, open with code. Then next. And then the last step is to install Visual Studio Code into our system. So the installation process has started. So here I can see that installation has been completed. We are just going to click on the finish button and that will launch our Visual Studio Code. So now we have successfully downloaded our Visual Studio Code. So now that we have installed Visual Studio Code, the next step is to install extension into our VS Code. So for installing extensions in our VS Code, we just need to click here and then we are going to search for extensions. So these extensions will help you to run HTML, CSS and JavaScript code in your VS Code. So I have been using VS Code for such a long time now, so these extensions are already installed in my VS Code. I'll just show you. So the first extension that you need is Live Server. So this Live Server basically will help you to run your HTML and CSS code in your VS Code. I'll just show you how to install. So after you'll click on Live Server, you'll get something like this and you just need to click on Install. And after installing, this Go Live button will be added to your VS Code. That's it. Just like that, we are going to add auto close tag. So basically auto close tag will help you to close the HTML or XML code automatically. And after this you need to add auto rename tag. This will also help to rename the HTML paired tag. And after this you are going to add ESLint. So this ESLint will basically help JavaScript to run into your VS Code. And after this, let us add code formatter. So this is the code formatter that we are going to add. This will basically format the code and increase the readability of a code in VS Code. And we are going to add HTML and CSS support. So we are going to add this extension as well. So for now, let's move on to creation of file into our Visual Studio Code. And these extensions would be enough for now. And for creating a file in your Visual Studio Code, first thing that you need to do is you need to add one folder in your VS Code. So for adding a folder, you just need to click on File, Open Folder, and we can just select any folder from our desktop or anywhere in our PC. And we can also create a new folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder here. So this new folder would be Basics. That's it. Select folder, and this Basics folder has been opened in my VS Code. So after opening a folder into our VS Code, first of all we are going to create one file in our folder. So to create a file inside a folder, we are just going to click here and we are going to choose a name for our file. We are going to give it as first.html. So our HTML file has been created, and next we are going to create a CSS file, styl. I'll just give style.css. So now CSS file has been created, and then we are going to create a JavaScript file as well. So we are going to give it as a script.js. That's it. So this is how you create HTML, CSS and JavaScript file into your folder. So the steps are, you first need to add a folder in your VS Code, and inside that folder you are going to create multiple files. That's it. Now quickly just see how HTML works. So I'll just show you the code. I'll just run one single code. So let me write one heading. That's it. And you're going to save your code with Ctrl S, and then you're going to click on Go Live. Here you can see your web page, and this is the content that I wrote inside my web page. That's it. And this is how your Visual Studio Code functions. Now let us look at the overview at the basics of HTML, and then we'll again come to our Visual Studio Code and we'll learn how to run HTML codes. So now just quickly understand the basics of HTML. So we use tags in HTML for every specific purpose. So now we'll just quickly see what are some basic tags in HTML. First one we have is HTML tag. So any of the content that we want to include to our web page will be written inside the HTML tag, right? And after that we have head tag. Inside the HTML tag, first of all we are going to create head, and in head tag we basically mention all the headers of our web page. For example, title. So we use title tag to give title to our web document. We'll just practically see this within a minute. And after that we have as body tag. So apart from head section, apart from header, we need to include every specific thing. Everything that we need to see on our web page, we are going to include it in body section. So inside the body section we use heading to give heading to our web page. And after heading we use paragraph to write any paragraph in our web page. And that's it. These are some basic tags in HTML. And now we'll just go to our Visual Studio Code and we'll practically apply these tags. So we are just going to delete it, and from initial we'll understand what are the tags that are essential. So the first tag is doctype HTML. We basically use doctype HTML tag to tell the browser that the type of document we are writing is a hypertext markup language type. That's it. This is the use of doctype HTML tag. And after doctype HTML, will open our HTML tag. So as I have told you, everything that we are going to write will be included in the HTML tag. So inside the HTML, first tag we are going to create is head tag. Inside the head tag, we are going to mention the title of our web page with the help of title tag, right? So now inside the title tag, I am going to give the title, my web page. That's it. And one more thing that we do inside our head tag is we link our CSS file to our HTML file. For that we use link tag. So link rel style sheet. This is basically written to tell that the document that we are linking is a style sheet. And after this, we are going to give the address of the style sheet. So we are just going to mention the name, and which is style.css. That's it. This is the sign to close the tag, and we have successfully linked our HTML file with CSS file. That's it. Just save the document with Ctrl+S, move to the web browser, refresh it, and the heading has been gone because I have removed it. Now again we will go to our Visual Studio Code. We'll just create. So one thing we did not see. So this is basically the title of the web page. You'll provide a title and that will be appeared here. So this is the use of the title tag. So after the head tag, what we are going to do, we are going to create the body section. So inside the body section, we write headings, paragraphs, links, images and everything. First of all, we'll see heading. So for heading, we use h tag, and h tag varies from h1 to h6. We are going to see all of them. So we are going to write, this is my heading, right? We'll just copy this heading and we are going to paste it. That's it. And I'm going to change it to h2, h3, h4 and h5 and h6. That's it. I have written my heading from h1 to h6 and Ctrl+S, and we'll move to our web page. So here you can see h1 to h6, h1 being the biggest and h6 being the smallest. So this is how heading tags work. And after this, we'll see the example of paragraph tag. So here paragraph has been included. So these are some basic tags which you include in your body section, which are heading tags and paragraph tags. So after learning heading tags and paragraph tags, we are going to learn about link tag. So to provide link in HTML, we use anchor tag and it is representing using A. So first of all, I'll write my paragraph. I'll write here visit, and after that I'm going to open my anchor tag and I'll give the reference. So inside this, we are going to mention our link. I have just pasted my link, and after this I'm going to close my anchor tag. So here we are going to write something, visit, let's say Edureka. That's it, Ctrl+S, and here it is. So the link has been created. I am clicking on the link and I have been redirected to the Edureka's website. So that's it. This is how you use link tag. This is how you use anchor tag in HTML. So after learning anchor tag in HTML, what we are going to do, we are going to learn how to add image. So here I am going to give heading, image example. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy one image link. So I have copied one image example. Now let us learn how to add any image. So for that we use img tag and we give source to that image. Inside src we are going to give the link of the image. This is the link that I have copied. And after that we are going to give it a alt attribute. So alt attribute is basically given just in case your image is not loading. So instead of your image, that alt attribute text will be shown on the website. So that's it. We are going to close the image tag, Ctrl+S again, and example. So this is the image that I have provided inside my link. So we can see the image. Now let us just take an example how alt attribute works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the image and save. So here we can see a cat because I have provided cat as my alt attribute. Again here I can see my image. So that's how you provide image using HTML. So the next thing in HTML that we are going to learn the creation of list. So again what we are going to do is we are going to provide a heading. So list example, that's it. And then let us create a list. So to create a list, I'm going to use UL. UL stand for unordered list. Likewise, if you want to create ordered list, you are going to use OL. So inside UL, LI stands for list items. So we give list items name inside LI tag. So we are going to give 3 list items. That's it. And then Control S and the output. The list has been created here, you can see. Now let me give you an example of ordered list. Just Control C, Control V, and what we are going to do, we are going to change here. Control S. So this is the example of ordered list. You can see here 1, 2, 3, and in unordered list you can see the dots or pointers. So after ordered list we have description list. So description list is represented using DL, and inside this we give DT, which stands for description terms. So we are going to give term 1, and then inside this we are going to give DD. So DD stands for definition description, and inside this what we are going to do, we are going to write something. Definition of term 1, that's it. And again just copy this, Control S. Now let us look at the output. So this is how description list works. So these are the 3 types of list in HTML: ordered list, unordered list, and description list. So after covering list in HTML, we are going to move on to tables. How to create tables in HTML. So for that we are going to create one section. Section tag basically improves the readability of the code. So with this section tag, what we are going to do, first of all we are going to give a class to our section tag. So the purpose of giving class is that it will group the multiple elements that share the same style or the behavior. So we basically give classes to the components and elements of HTML just to target them into CSS file. So I'm giving the class, let's say, table section. That's it. Closing the section, and now we'll create a table in HTML. So for that, first we'll give a heading, table example. That's it. Now after this, I'll just format document. I'll just use this. So my document has been formatted just because I have this extension in my VS Code. So that's it. After giving heading, we are going to start the creation of table. We are going to use table tag. Inside the table tag, we are going to create a table row, right? So inside the table row, we are going to mention TH, which stands for table header. We are going to provide table header as course, right? TH and duration of the course, let's say. Then one more header, let's say instructor. That's it. These are 3 headers of my table. After that, we are going to create one more table row. So for that, just copy this and paste it 3 times. So just change the content inside it. HTML and one more, we are going to create a section for JavaScript. That's it. Control S and let us look at the output now. So you can see the table has been created. Further, we can style this table as we want inside the CSS file. So now you know how to create a list, how to create a table inside HTML document. So the next thing that we are going to learn is how to create boxes. So this is the most important part, because whenever we are going to make a project, a form or anything in HTML, we are gonna need this, creation of division, creation of class, creation of boxes. So we'll just quickly see how to create boxes. For that, quickly create a section and then give it a class. Let's say flexbox container. And inside this, for creation of one division, I'm going to use div, and again we are going to give a class to our division. So what we are going to write is flex items. That's it. And after this, let us give a heading. Did not close this div. Inside this div, we are going to give a heading. So the heading that I am going to give is, this is flexbox. Again, I want to format my document, so we'll just go format the document. That's it. And after this, what we are going to do is we are going to give one paragraph. So, and that is it. The division will get closed. So to make one or two more division like this, just copy this code, paste it 2 times. That's it. The class is same for all the division. So this is how, if I'll style one div, then the styling technique will be applied to the 3 divs. So I'll just change the content. This is flexbox 1, 2 and 3. That's it. So the division is closed, the section is closed. Save the document and look at the output. So this is flexbox 1, 2 and 3. So we are going to see the styling, and then there will be a major difference in our web page. Our web page is currently looking like this, and now we'll move on to CSS, and then we'll see the difference, what it makes to our web page. So now we are done with learning basic tags of HTML, and now what we are going to do, we are going to learn a bit about styling, and then we'll style this page only, the page we have created right here. We are going to style this page only. And after that, what we'll do, we'll just apply our HTML and CSS skills, and we'll create a form using HTML and CSS. And inside that form, we are also going to include some JavaScript functions like form validation and calculation and everything. So our first project will be creation of a form using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And after that, what we are going to do, we are going to create one full-fledged project using HTML and CSS JavaScript. So let us now move forward and learn about CSS. So now let's start with CSS. CSS basically stands for Cascading Style Sheets and allows us to control how HTML elements looks on the web page. So the syntax structure of the CSS is very simple. The first thing we write is a selector. Then we provide a curly braces, and inside the curly braces we mention the property and the value. So this is basically called the declaration. And again, after the semicolon, we can again write the property and then we can give a value to it. And at last, we have to just close the curly braces. So after CSS syntax comes the CSS selectors. So CSS selectors are of different types like attribute selector, element selector, class selector, ID selector and universal selector. But among these all, class selectors and ID selectors are used the most. So class selector is used to apply style to multiple elements that share the same class. So you just use dot followed by a class name. For example, if you have a class name button, you are just going to use dot, right? You are just going to use dot followed by the class name, right? And then comes the ID selector. After class selector comes the ID selector. So ID selector is used when you want to apply style to a unique element on the page. Each element should have a different ID and the selector uses hash. So for class we use dot and for ID we use hash and followed by the ID name. And here we just write the dot and followed by the class name, right? So that's it. And this is all about class selector and ID selector. Now comes the box model. So after CSS syntax and selector comes the box model. So CSS box model is a fundamental concept that describe how elements are displayed on the web page. It essentially wraps each HTML in boxes that consist of several layers. Let's now break it down. The first one is content. At a core, you have the content, which is actually the text or the image inside the element. After that, we have the padding. Here is the content. After that, we have the padding. The padding surrounds the content. It creates spaces between the content and the element border, like, cushioning inside the element. So after the padding part, we have the border. So border surrounds the padding and the content. You can customize it to be visible, invisible, thick, thin, or style as you want, the border part. And after the border part comes the margin. Finally, the outermost layer is the margin, which creates the space between the element's border and the other elements around it. So that's it about the box model. Now we have seen the CSS syntax, CSS selectors, and the box model. Now what we are going to do, we are going to learn about the CSS layout. So CSS layout is used to arrange and structure web pages element, ensuring a visually organized and user-friendly design. It helps to create responsive layouts that adapts to different sizes of screen and enhances the overall presentation of the content. So basically we have 6 different types of layout. First one we have is flow. So flow is a default layout in which elements are arranged in a natural order they appear in HTML from top to bottom. Then we have flexbox, a powerful layout system that arranges items flexibly and dynamically. Then we have grid. It provides 2-dimensional layout system perfect for creating complex grid-based designs with rows and columns. Then we have positional. It allows you to position elements precisely on the pages using properties like absolute, relative, and fixed. Then on we have table. It uses table-based layout to organize content in rows and columns, though it's now mostly replaced by new modern method like flexbox and grid. And then on we have float. So float is basically an older method used to wrap the text around the images or to create a basic layout, but it is largely replaced by flexbox and grid in the modern web design. So after the flexbox and layout, we need to learn about the responsive design. So responsive design in CSS ensures that the web pages adapts to different screen sizes and devices. It uses media queries, flexbox, grid like flexbox or grid, and fluid images to create layouts that adjust automatically, providing a seamless user experience across all the devices. So now let's design out our web page that we have created using HTML using these styling techniques. So now we'll just move on to our Visual Studio Code and we'll start designing our web page that we have created using HTML. So here again I'm on my VS Code and I'm going to my style.css. First we'll check our style page is linked with our HTML page. Yes, it is linked. And then we are going to our style.css. Here we are going to style our page. We'll just learn the styling techniques one by one, and after that we'll move forward and we'll create a form using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So now first of all, what we are going to do, we are going to give a body background. So to comment out in HTML or CSS, you are going to give a slash and a star. Body background, that's it. Inside this body background, first of all, I'll target the body part, and we have already seen the syntax. That's what I'm following here, the syntax of CSS which we saw. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to provide a font family. So you can choose any font family here. I'm just going to choose Arial and sans serif. That's it. After this, the line height. So CSS is basically all about experiment. We are just going to give line height as 1.6. You can just experiment it as you want. Then comes the box model, which is margin. Margin I'm going to give 0. Then comes the padding. Padding also, we have already seen what are margin and padding, and we are going to give it 0. Then comes the color. Color I want to give is, let's say, blue. Okay, so as I was saying, CSS is all about experiment. So whatever styling techniques you want to apply, you just need to come to the CSS file and you just need to experiment with that. The more you are going to experiment is more you are going to learn in CSS. So the background color I want is, let's say, light green, green-yellow. That's it. And after this, what we are going to do, we are going to target the box. So for that, again, let me give a comment here. It will be content box. Right. So we are going to target it by dot content box. And then again the background color, and we can give the max width using max width styling technique, and we can just choose our width here. So background color I want is, let's say, white, and the width I want is, let's say, 1200. So we are going to give it as 1200 px. Px is basically pixel. It is our most common way of defining the unit in CSS. Okay. So I have not closed it here. So max width. That's it. Px is our most common way of giving any unit in CSS. Next, we are going to give a margin. So margin also we can give top, bottom, and left, right, everything. So here the margin is auto. Why do we add auto here? We add margin auto because if the element is having a fixed width, then the remaining space will be divided around the element equally. So that is why you use auto here. So again, we are going to give padding. So the padding we are going to give is 20 px. And then box shadow. Box shadow defines itself. It's just a shadow around the box, and you can define the pixel of left, right, top, bottom by giving it like this. And you can also give the color here. So for giving the color, you just need to write RGBA, and you can, decide the color here. So you can give color, or you can give the readings like 0 and let's say 2, 4 and 6. Now it will be just as much surprising for you as much for me. I don't know which color is this. Let us run this code and then we'll see. After this, we are going to give border radius. So border radius is basically given to see the curves of the element. Like we have created some square, but I want the corners to be round. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just give it a border radius. So if you'll give a border radius of 50%, then it will become a circle. So that's how border radius works. So we are going to give 8 px. That's it. Let it be 9 px. So border radius is basically used for rounding the corners. My HTML file is not saved. and then we are going to save the CSS file and let us look at the output. So for now we have done these things. We have provided the color, we have provided the text color to blue, the background color to green, and these are the things that we have done till now. What is the one change that we are going to make? We have styled a content box, but we have not created a content box in our HTML. So what we are going to do, inside the body, we are going to create one div section, right? We are going to give it a class as content box, right? We'll close this div and Control X, and we'll include all this content inside the content box. So right here, Control V. That's it. Control S. And now let us look at the output. So here the content box has been created, and this is the box shadow you can see around the edges. This is the border radius. You can see the curves here, and the content is inside the content box. So this is how CSS is going to alter your HTML. Like, your HTML is basically the skeleton of the website, right? It just looks like a skeleton. There is no styling, no color, nothing. And using CSS, you can style your web page as you want. So as for now, we have styled this much. Now let us move forward and we are going to style it further. So now what we are going to do, we are going to style the headings here. And so what I want to do, I want to give a animation to my heading. So for that, we are going to use hover effect. Hover effect is basically a basic animation that is provided using hover. So I'll just add transform. So after writing transform, here we write what are the features we want to transform, like the speed or the scale. So we are going to write here scale, and to what scale we have to transform it. So 1.05, let's say. So what this transform does, it basically zooms the hover. Okay, when you will select on item, it will basically zoom that item. So I'll show you an example. So Control S, and we have changed the H1. Let us look at the H1. So the thing this is doing, whenever I'm going on the heading, it is zooming the heading. This is basically the hover effect using CSS. Now further, what I want to do is style the H2, H3, H4 and H5, H6. So for that, you can combinedly write here from H2 to H6. This is how you can style them together. So I want to change the color of every heading. Just let me give it as, let's say, this color. Okay, then margin, let's say bottom I want to change. So margin bottom I'll write. You can just give margin top, bottom, left, right, anything. So 10 px, then padding 15 px and 0, right? Then text alignment. Text alignment defines itself. It is just basically what is the alignment of the text you are providing. So I'm going to provide center, then transition. So transition here I'm going to give is transform. So why is transition used? So transition is basically used to provide any smooth effect to your heading or anywhere you are applying. And the factor here of transition I am providing as ease. So ease basically will, first speed up the transition, in middle it will slow, at last slow down the transition. Now I have applied this transition on every heading except H1. So I have applied this transition on every heading except the H1. So what we are going to do is we are going to give an effect also to every heading. So it will be like H2 hover, then again H3 hover, and likewise H4, H5, H6. So here we are going to give a hover effect that will be transform again, scale 1.05. That's it. So let us save it and look at the output. So you can see this is the hover and transition. You can see this is the hover and transition that has been applied to every H2, H3 to H6, right? So far we have understand the styling techniques. Now let's move forward, and now what we'll do is we'll style the anchor tag. So for that we are going to target the anchor tag. So after targeting the anchor tag, first of all we are going to add the color. So the color I want to give is, let's say I choose this color. And after this what we are going to do is we are going to add the text decoration as none. So why do we use this text decoration none? So by default in some browsers, when you are adding a hyperlink, whenever you are adding an anchor tag, there is a line beneath that link. Okay, so to remove that default styling from that browser, from that hyperlink, we add text decoration as none, right? And then again I'll add the transition, which will have color. We are going to add the color transition, and again it will be ease. So after this we are going to add the hover effect to our anchor tag, and the text decoration here we are going to give is underline. So after the cursor is on the hyperlink, then I want that hyperlink to have a underline. So that's why I have given the text decoration none here and text decoration as underline here, right? After that, the color after the transition I want in my hyperlink is, let's say I want it to be red. That's it. Control S, and here you can see first of all it is hot pink. Then there is no underline to it because the text decoration is none. After I am taking my cursor on hyperlink, it is having an underline and the color is red. So now you understand the styling technique, both hover and text decoration. So after this, we are going to style our list. Okay. So to style our list, we'll target the list as it is UL, and we have OL, and we have DL, right? So now first of all let us give the margin 20 px, then we'll give padding, which will be 10 px. Then we are going to give border radius. Now we know what border radius is. So border radius is basically used to give the rounded corners. Then we are going to give box shadow. Again we know what box shadow is, and after that we are going to give a color to our box shadow. So let us take this only, and after this we are going to style our paragraph. So in paragraph also we are going to give margin bottom 10 px, then padding also 10 px, then border radius we are going to give it as 4 px. After this comes our image, right? So let us style our image. In image only I want to give is the max width of the image would be 100% and height of the image will be auto. We already know why we use auto. And the border radius will be, let's say 10 px. Then again we have transition. Transition is basically the type of animation that I am using everywhere just to make you understand how the animation works. And after this we are going to style the image animation, that is hover. So again transform to scale 1.05 is what we are using everywhere. So we are going to use that only here. Right. Now comes the styling of list. So we'll mention UL. First of all, we are going to do list style type will be square. You'll understand this once I'll execute this code. You will see the difference in the list, then you will understand why I've used square. And after this, OL we have, which was our ordered list. Again, list style type will be decimal. Okay. And after this, what we are going to do, we are going to just execute our code. So we can see the transition on my image, right? The border radius of my image. You can play with the transition like this, right? And the list items I can see here, it is square. So if we provide the list style type as square, it will give us like random square or circle or pointers. And if we provide the list styling type as decimal, then it is going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. So that's it. And now what we are going to do, we are going to style our table after the list. So for styling our table, we are going to target the table, and in table the width will be 100%. The border collapse will be collapse. So now again, border collapse is now again a new term for you. So basically we use border collapse because we want the every item in the table to have its own border. So that is why you use border collapse. So after this, we are going to add the margin top. It will be 20 px, and then the background color, which will be white, let's say, or kind of white. And then we are going to add the box shadow. After this, border radius, let it be 10 px. That's it. Inside the table, I want to style the table header and the table description. So I'll just add border 1 px, and here I can give any color to my border using solid white, let's say, right? After this, the padding, which will be 10 px for me, and then text alignment. So let's say it will be left. That's it. Again, after this, we are going to separately design our table header for background color. Let's say it will be this, antique white. And then the table row, however I want to give it a effect. So it will be antique white. That's it, the table has been designed. Let us quickly have a look on the table. So this is my table, right? So the table has been designed here. So now next what we are going to do is we are going to design our flex box. So first let me quickly see the class name. It is flexbox with small f. So it will be flexbox, right? Inside the flexbox, the first thing will be display flex, and justify content will be space around, right? After that, we have margin on top, which will be 20 px, and then we have padding, which will be 10 px, right? Then inside that we have flex items. So inside this we are going to do background color. I'll just quickly give the styling. So we have provided flex 1 here. So that means the container can either shrink or expand according to the space that is available around the container. That's it. This is all about the flex item styling, and next what I'm going to style is flex item hover. Flex item hover. So in flex item hover, I'm just going to give transform and background color. That's it. And then comes the last thing about our styling, which is responsive design. So for that we add media queries, and here is max width, which is, let's say, 770px, and the flex box, I'm just going to explain it, and flex direction. So here I have added media queries. So media queries in CSS are essential for creating responsive designs that adjust the different screen sizes and device, right? So they allow us to apply specific style based on the characteristics of user viewport. For example, the media query media max width, which we have written here, and the flex box, flex direction, column, whatever we have written here, target the screen size of approximately 768 pixels. So basically it targets the screen that are of 608 pixels wide or smaller, which is typically for tablets or mobile devices. So in this case, the class.flexbox, which is a flex container, will change the flex direction from default horizontal adjustment to vertical stack. These adjustment enhances the readability and accessibility of the content on the smaller scales. So we are just going to save our code and let us look at the output. So here we have created the 3 flex box. You can see the hover effect, you can see the transition and everything. So this is it about styling. We have seen what is HTML, how HTML works, and how do we write HTML. After that we moved on to CSS, and then we have seen the styling techniques, and we made a web page and we applied the styling to it. So you yourself can examine how the web page was looking without CSS and how the web page is now looking with CSS. So now that we have learned HTML and CSS and we have practically applied styling techniques and HTML tags on the web page, we'll now move on to creation of a form using HTML and CSS. So now let us start with the creation of form using HTML and CSS. And after completing the HTML and CSS form, what we'll do, we'll move on to JavaScript and we'll apply some functions of JavaScript into our form. So now first of all we need to do is we need to open a new folder. For that I have closed this folder. I'll just go on folders and open folder. Again I'm going to create a new folder here. So new folder, we'll just name it form. Okay, it already exists. So let it be new folder only. Okay. So again inside this folder, what we are going to do, we are going to create one HTML file, let's say form.html, and one CSS file, let's say style.css. So now that you are familiar with the styling techniques, I'm not gonna explain the every styling technique again. What we'll do, we'll just go through the HTML code and then I'll just write the CSS. Again, I'll explain you the JavaScript code, but CSS part we are gonna skip because I think you have now basic idea of how CSS works and you just need to experiment with the styling techniques. So inside the form.html, again the first thing we are going to write is doc type HTML, and then we are going to start with the HTML tag. So now you have basic idea of how to write the tags in HTML, after what tag, which tag you need to include. So I'll just quickly write everything. That's it. And after this, we are going to start our body section. Inside the body section, the first thing will be h1, and the class that we are going to give is form title. and the heading that we are going to give is application form. After this, we will start the form tag. Inside the form tag, everything that we are going to include in form will be mentioned. Again, to form, we are going to give one class because we have to style this form. So let me give application form, and then we are going to start our form. First, we'll create one div. Again, we need to give it a class. Then we need to create a label for the form. After creation of label, I'll decide the input. So input type of the name, of course, will be text type. Here you can see I'm giving different classes for different things because I want to style them differently. And then the most important thing, I'll write here required. So this required basically works as a validation. If this required is mentioned in any section of the form, that means user need to fill that section, and without filling that section, user cannot move forward or user cannot submit that form. Right. So we have created the first name section. As it is, we are going to copy this, and same we are going to paste it for the last name. That's it. Again, I'll copy this section for the date of birth, and now I need to change here the input type also, because for DOB the input type will be numbers or dates. It will be dates. Right. So here I will write date and ID will be DOB. Again here DOB. Right. Again, I'll copy this code for the next section. So my next section will be age. After writing the age section, we'll just quickly look at the output, what we have created till now. So the age input type will be number. That's it. Let us save and go live. So far we have created this form, job application form. The O is capital, I'll just correct it. First name, last name, date of birth here. The input type is date, so we are getting a calendar here. Age is mentioned here. So by far we have created this. Okay. Now let us move forward. First I need to change the title, which is job application. Right. Now what we need to mention, we are done with date. So again I need to mention one section, which is gender. So for gender, here I need to add labels for male and female, right? So this is correct. We are going to create a radio button here because I want the user to select only one gender. Here we need to give value. So the value here will be male. And again I need to give class, which is radio input. That's it. We have created one label for male. We are going to copy paste for the female section. Just need to make the minor changes, and one more time we'll paste it for others. That's it. We have not changed the male female here. And then again one more label we have to make here, which will be for others. Right. Now Control S and let us look at the output. Here you can see gender, male, female or others. So we can only select either male, either female or others. So this is how the radio button works. So now that we are done with the gender section, we are going to move on to the email address. For email address, again I'm going to copy this and let us paste it. Again we are going to change the label. The input type here will be email, and same goes with ID and name. That's it. And then again we are going to create one more section for the position available, because this is a job application. So for the position available, first label we are going to create for the position available. That's it. Again the input type here I am going to create is checkbox. We are going to remove required from here because it is a checkbox, and here it will be value. So the value here will be junior, and here again it will be class. That's it. So the first checkbox has been created for a junior developer, but let me give a label here. Now what we are going to do, we are just going to copy this and we are going to paste it for different position levels, right? So we have pasted it, and just the minor changes we are going to do. So the first change is mid-level, and the value here again will be mid-level. Okay, and the label also will be mid-level developer. Again here it will be senior and a senior developer. That's it. Control S, and here you can see the checkbox junior developer, mid-level developer and senior developer. This is the basic difference between radio button and a checkbox. In radio button you can only select one at a time, and in checkbox you can select all. So after this I want the programming languages input. So again for this what we are going to do, we are just going to copy this whole division and we'll just make the changes. So we have pasted it. The first change would be programming languages. The first language will be Java, and we are going to change the name and the values. The second one will be JavaScript. And the third one will be, let's say, Python. That's it. The languages section is also completed. So what is the next section that I want? I want the user to fill the password and confirm the password. Right. So now for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy my older div section and I'm going to paste it here. So again for the password I need here is password. So creation of form is very easy. You just need to mention the things that you want in your form and you're good to go. Here in input type will of course keep it as a password. Then only it won't be visible. It will be in the form of stars or dots. That's it. And again this to confirm the password. The password section is done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a form action. So for creation of form action, we are going to copy this and paste it. So here we only need input type. We'll just delete it and let us first change this. Input type will be reset. Here we are creating a button. So let me remove this all. After this, we are going to add a value, which again will be reset. We are going to give the class, which will be button reset button. That's it, and we'll just copy paste this for our submit button. This will be submit. That's it. Now the form is completed. The HTML part of the form is completed. Here we have created two buttons, the submit button and the reset button. So you are getting this pop-up. This is because we have mentioned required in our HTML code. So this is the creation of form using HTML. Now just quickly move on to CSS and we'll just quickly style our form. So I'm just going to provide the styling. I'm not going to explain the every part of styling, as we already know why do we use everything. You can just yourself change the styling and look at the outputs. So it will be easy for you to understand the CSS. CSS is basically the thing which you can never complete, because every day there is a new styling technique. So you just need to experiment with the styling and then you'll be able to understand the CSS features. So after this, I'm going to style my form title. We have just started with the styling technique and you can see the visible difference that CSS is making to my HTML form. And now you can see the output. I have applied so many styling techniques here and now my form is looking like a proper well-designed form. So this is the form that we have created using HTML and CSS. So here I'm going to write 𝐑𝐐𝐤𝐿 and the date of birth that I'm going to include is, let's say, 2003 February and 13th. Age, let's say 21, gender female, and here 123@gmail.com. So I'm gonna apply for all of this. I know all the languages. Password I'm gonna keep 123 and 123. That's it. We have submitted and then I'm gonna write here anything and reset, and the reset button is working. So now what we'll do further, we'll just add some JavaScript functionalities into our form, like form validation. And one more functionality I want to add in my form is that whenever I'll enter my date of birth, it should automatically calculate my age. So this is the function that I want to apply in my form. So first thing that we are going to do is we are going to discuss the topics of JavaScript that we are going to apply in this form, and further while we are working on the project using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So first of all, let us see the basic features of JavaScript that we are going to use in our form, as well as the project that we are going to make using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So first of all, we have JavaScript basics, which includes syntax and structure and control structure. So JavaScript syntax is a set of rules that defines how the code should be written, while its structure involves organizing your code logically with variables, functions and loops. Now, control structure in JavaScript such as if-else, for loops and switch statements allows you to control the flow of your code based on the conditions and iterations. So the next feature of JavaScript is DOM manipulation. So DOM manipulation in JavaScript let us dynamically change our website content, structure and style by interacting with the elements in the document object model. This allows us to create interactive and responsive user interfaces. Next one we have is event handling. Event handling in JavaScript lets you to respond to users' action like click and key presses. That makes your website more interactive. And then on we have form validation. Form validation ensures that user inputs are correct and complete before they can submit the form. That improves the data accuracy. Then on we have local storage. Local storage allows you to save the data in user's browser, so it remains available even after the page is refreshed or closed. Now let us add some of these features to our form. What we'll do, we'll use the local storage and form validation into our form, and then afterward when we'll start creating the website using HTML, CSS and JavaScript, we'll use DOM manipulation, event handling, form validation, local storage and of course the basics of JavaScript, all these features of JavaScript in our website. So now let us move to the VS Code and then we'll create some basic functions of JavaScript and then we'll apply that to our form. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to create a file for JavaScript, script.js. And the next step is to link our JavaScript file to HTML file. So for linking our JavaScript file to HTML file, we'll use script tag in our body section. So we'll just link it like this, script and then again source, and we have given the name script.js. Now the JavaScript file has been linked to the HTML file. So whatever functions we are going to create in script.js will be applied to form.html. So here in script.js, the first function that I'm going to create is validation function. So validation function is most basic function that you can create. It is just used to validate the form. So what this line of code means? So this line of code basically is retrieving the value from first name. Let us see where we have created first name. Here is the ID first name. So whatever input we are going to give in this first name will be accessed by this first name. Right. Now again for the last name and everything we are just going to copy paste this function. That's it. We are going to change this as last name. Here it will be last name. Just keep it in mind, the ID should be same here, okay? So after last name we have created DOB and then age. After that email, and again we have created password and confirm password. Right. Again we are going to change the IDs here. So for DOB the ID was DOB. For age also the ID was age. For email it was email, and so on. Password and confirm password. Right. So this is it. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly check the ID name. Last name and first name. It is okay, it is okay. And again we have created for email and password and confirm password. Here P is small. So here also P is small. That's it. So this will retrieve the data from first name. This will retrieve the data from last name. Same as from DOB, from age, from email, password and confirm password. Okay. So just save it. Next thing what we are going to do is we are going to validate if the user have entered the data or not. So if first name and last name, here I am basically given if any of the data including first name, last name, DOB, email address, password or confirm password is not entered, then you should get a alert. So basically I am creating an alert function here. So then a user will get an alert that you need to fill this required section. So here the user will get an alert, and the alert will be all the fields are required to fill. All the fields are required, that's it. So this is the alert that the person is going to get if he does not fill any required section. So after this, what we are going to do, we are just going to add return false. So what this will do, this will just prevent the form from submission. It will make sure that all these sections including first name, last name, DOB, email, password and confirm password are filled. Otherwise the form won't submit and the person will get alert. Right. Now one more validation I need to keep, that if the password and the confirm password matches. For that we will do password. If it is not equal to confirm password, then user will get alert password does not match. Right. That's it. Let me do it. Do not match. That's it. Again I'll add a return false. Again it will prevent the form from submission. So after this, one more function we need to add for the validation of the password if it is meeting the standard criteria of the password. For that we'll call one function which is password validate. It is password valid. So it will basically match with the password that we have entered, and then if it does not match, it will again throw an alert that password, the basic alerts that we get. That's it. This is the alert that user is going to get, that password must contain uppercase, lowercase, number, character and everything. So this is the basic criteria that our password needs to match. Again, what we are going to do is we are going to add a return statement here. So if it does not match, the form should not get submitted. And outside this, we are going to call return statement again and we'll add true. So if it is not the case, like if the password is matching all the criteria that we include in is password validate, then the return true will be called. So now we need to make a function that we have added here, right? So the next thing that we are going to do is, again we are going to make one function to handle the event. So it will handle the form submission event. So whenever the user will click on the submit button, it will get triggered and it will basically check the form validation criteria whatever we have applied. So first one is validate form. So it is going to check this, and the else condition will have form successfully submitted. Right. So if the form is not validated, then it won't get submitted, and in else condition we have included that if this is not the case, the else statement will run. Okay, the form will get submitted. Now this is to handle the submission, and again we are going to create one function to validate the password. So we are going to create the isPasswordValid function here. So inside this we are going to create whatever features we want in our password. The first thing we want is uppercase. So this should include A to Z. It should test in password that at least one character from A to Z is included in the password. That's it. Now again for the lowercase. that will be included from A to Z. Again, we'll do the same for numbers and special characters. Number should be from 0 to 9, right? And it should also include the special character. That's it. So special characters, we are going to mention it manually. That's it. Also colon and semicolon. So these are the special characters that I want to check in my password. Any one of the characters should be included. So the return statement will has uppercase and has lowercase. Similarly, that's it. Okay. Now the validation has been completed. So this section is basically validating that everything should be included. It will take the input from first name, last name, DOB, age, email, password and confirm password. This will validate basically the every section is filled, and this will basically check that password and the confirm password are matching. This will basically call this function which we have written here, and it will basically check that the password is containing uppercase, lowercase, number and special characters, right? Now one more function I want to include in my JavaScript form. That will be the calculation of the age. So what I want that when user is entering their date of birth, then the age should get calculated by itself. For that, I'm going to make one function, calculate age, right, from DOB. So this function basically will calculate the age from the date of birth and the current date. That's it. This will just subtract the years and the months of your date of birth to the today's date, right? The date you are born to the date you are filling the form, that will get subtracted. So again, if the month difference is less than 0, or the month difference is equal to 0, and that's it. That's it. We have created here a function. It will read the user's date of birth, the month, and then it will calculate the age according to the today's date and the month, right? So this is basically the function to calculate the age, and now we are going to add an event listener. So now we are going to add an event listener that basically updates the age whenever the DOB changes. For that, we will add document.get element by ID DOB, right? Add event listener, which is change. That's it. If the DOB get changed, then the age will also get recalculated according to the recent data of DOB. So here we are going to write again age, and value will be age. That's it. So what here we are going to do, we cannot close this change here. We have to close it here. So that's it. After that, we are going to add one more event listener that will handle the form submission. So it will basically read all the application data from application form, right? Here again, we need to add one event listener that will be submit. So it will now handle the submission, right? After this, again, one more event listener we are going to add. That will be for the local storage. It will for the storage of form data. That's it. Now one more function we need to make to store the form data. What things we need to store, we need to mention it. So I need to store first name. It will read this from first name itself, right? It will read the input value from the first name. After this, again same thing for the last name and everything. So this is for the last name. Then it will be for the date of birth. After that, for the gender. Everything will be stored in the user's browser. That's why we use local storage to store the data into user's browser. So before gender we have age, and then on we have gender. So here we have applied radio button, so we need to use the query selector here. After this, we are going to mention for email. So for email, again we are going to add that's it. And after this, for positions, every data we need to store, and we need to store multiple things here because it is not a radio button, it is a checkbox, so we are going to use array. So again, for the programming languages also we are going to use the same line. We are just going to add here languages. And last but not the least, we are left with the password. So now that's it. Before closing, we'll just add local storage, set item from form data. That's it. We are done with the JavaScript part. So now that we are done with the JavaScript part, let us quickly go to our form and let us quickly check the validations and everything. So 𝐑𝐸 𝐁𝐴, and here the date I'm going to add is, let's say, 2006 and randomly any date. Now here I can see the age has been calculated by itself. So this is the JavaScript function that we have made, 123@gmail.com. So the local storage is also working. Again, this checkboxes and password, let's say 𝐑𝐸 I have kept 𝐑𝐸 and submit. So this is giving me alert which I have added, and now let's say I will keep 123@𝐑𝐸 and again 123@𝐑𝐸. So still password is not correct because the uppercase has not been included. I'll just write a@123, a@123, and one small letter also, which will be A and A. Okay, so now the password does not match. Let me quickly see. Now it should match, and the form has been successfully submitted. So now our form is working and it has been created using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So that's it for this video. In the next part, we'll start with the creation of our first website using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment down any of your doubts and queries. We'll reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka's channel to learn more. Happy learning!